Welcome back to the Sanctuary Sunday School. I am so glad to have you here today. The lesson is a little late, as I've said. I'm transitioning, and it just takes time to get people to do the back end work, get everybody trained. But I'm building up a team to make the Sanctuary Academy better for you. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. Tap that bell because you do not want to miss what's to come. This week's subject is Ever Persevering Petitions. And I love that subject, and we can find the text in the book of Luke in the 11th chapter. When you consider the word petition, we generally think of a petition that's circulated, and we need so many thousands of signatures to ratify that petition. But when I look at this, and our relationship with Jesus Christ gives us access to the Father where we can go boldly before the throne of grace and ask whatever it is that we want from Him. And it's consistent. We can consistently go to Him, and He'll always be there because God has the ability and the capacity to provide everything that we need. And so when we look at this, Jesus is teaching in a parable. And we know that He uses parables to deliver heavenly or godly concepts using natural examples. And here he's using the example of friendship, which I think is significant and timely because we're living in a day where you don't see really good examples of friendship. And we see here that we have a man who he had guests and he ran out of food for his guests and he needed to borrow 3 loaves from his friend, but it was late. It was midnight and he went to borrow from his friend, and now the friend was asleep, his entire family was asleep, and he really didn't feel like or didn't want to get up and do this because it was disturbing his entire household. However, he did it because it was a friend. And Jesus went on to talk about, he started with friendship, then he went on to talk about family and how if your father and your child needs bread, that you wouldn't give them a stone. Or if they wanted fish or needed fish, you wouldn't give them a serpent. And I thought about that because a stone is something that's useless when you need bread, and a serpent is something that's poisonous. And so he said, if a natural father or parent has enough sense to provide good things, right, for their children, how much more so can we expect that from God the Father? And that is a fundamental understanding of righteousness that I think a lot of people miss. God will provide everything that we need. And sometimes we stress, I talk about the old hymns a lot, but as I get older, they mean more when you talk about, oh, what peace we often forfeit, oh, what needless pains we bear, all because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Sometimes we leave prayer as our last resort and we just go about our day and we do things our own way. And then when it gets difficult, when it gets tough, when there's a problem or a crisis, that's when we pray. When we could have avoided all of those situations by these ever persevering petitions, by asking God before, all the time for all things. And so that's something that we looked at. And then Jesus took it further. He said, ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. And look at this. For everyone who asks, receive it. And I say this all the time, God is the only entity who's qualified to use words like every and all because he cannot, will not, does not fail. And when you think about having that kind of support, I always say that I have an amazing support system in family and friends, which I absolutely do. But God is that ultimate support system. And you have to ask. You ask. If you ask, you're going to get it. If you seek, you got to be looking for it. I always say that you find whatever you're looking for. If you're looking for a fight, you're going to find a fight. If you're looking for a problem, you're going to have a problem. But if you're looking for peace, you'll find peace. If you're looking for joy, you'll find joy. But you do have to look in the right places. And Jesus is encouraging us to look to the Father. Go to the Father. Make him your first place. that you go in all thy ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. Knock. There are doors in life that we need to be open, that we need to walk through. There's rooms we need to be seated in. There's positions that we need to be in. God has the power to open those doors for us. There's never a reason to compromise your salvation for anything because God has everything that you need. And when we grasp that concept and understand who God really is, Jehovah Jireh, my provider, he is going to give us everything that we need. And it's really just a matter of us submitting to him, obeying him, and simply asking him, simply seeking him. Seek the Lord while he may be found, and simply knocking on those doors and asking God. And I say this all the time. For me, my lifestyle, my lifetime, God has not only opened doors for me, he's created doors. I could just be minding my own business and look up and the door is there and I could tell you it wasn't there before. But he put it there just for me. I serve a just for me God. I felt that one right there. There are some things that God has just for you. And another song I like, what God has for me, it is for me. There's no reason to compete or undercut anybody because what's mine, because God gave it to me. And all that you have to do is ask, seek, and knock. And God will open every door for you to walk through and live your best life.